And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Khaliah, who had a near-death experience while being burned alive. Khaliah, thank you for joining me and welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and share this crazy experience.
Well, we are excited to have you. So if you don't mind, let's start on the day that this happened and go from there.
Okay, so this is back in 2014, January 18th to be exact. All of this started because I developed a condition called Stevens-Johnson syndrome, which is an adverse reaction to medicine. So I was taking a medicine for depression, and it ended up burning all of my skin off. So I woke up in the middle of the night, blisters all over my body, just feeling like I was on fire. Even in that moment, I was somewhat having an outer body experience because I was like freakishly calm, even though everything was happening. But um, get to the hospital and they're telling me, they need to intubate me and all of this. I had a very unusual experience with the intubation. I was not going to sleep like normal. So I was very awake, dancing to the beeps of the IV, like not sleep at all. So that should have been my first indicator that something was wrong. But then they told me, that I had Stevens-Johnson's, and I remember writing on the board because I was intubated by that point, and I was like, "Who the f is Stevens-Johnson's?" And next thing I remember, I was going into the coma, and that was a combination of a lot of different things. So it started with me jumping out of my body basically and standing next to me and seeing all the stuff that was happening in the hospital. I thought I was dead. I thought I had died because, I was a Christian when all of this happened. So I was very unaware of, spiritual realms and all that stuff. So I thought I died, but immediately I'm just in this airy kind of misty feeling where I can just go anywhere. Like I was at the hospital, I stayed there for a little bit because for some reason I was like afraid to leave my body, but I wasn't scared of like what was happening. So it was a lot of just seeing the people in the hospital, seeing the doctors, seeing my family. I saw the boy who was in the room next to me. I didn't know at the time, but he actually died while I was in the coma. So I don't know which point this was, but I remember talking to him. And it was a lot of just being in that outer body experience of seeing what they were doing to me.
Let me stop you for 1 second.
Okay.
Are you saying that you were out of your body and you were talking to him while he was also out of his body?
I didn't know that though. To me, it was just, I was just talking to him and I could see he was in the hospital, in the room next to me. But now I understand that he was likely already passed. So I was in my spirit body talking to this person who was potentially already passed or transitioning because, you don't just die, like there's a transitional part. So I didn't learn until after I woke up that he had passed away.
Was he lying in his hospital bed when you talked to him? Or was he up cruising around like you?
No, like he was standing. I remember seeing him like standing next to the bed, but I didn't know why he was in there. You're in the ICU in the burn unit. Some people have burns on, certain parts of their body, so they're still mobile. But I was just talking to him and I had no idea like who he was or why or nothing. But I just, I saw he was in the room next to me. So I went in there and was talking to him. And then I just sort of zapped somewhere else. Everything was kind of spotty. So I was talking to him, and then like in a split second, I was somewhere else, and I didn't know that he was passed at that point. And so I saw my family, which who I knew were alive at the time, and they seemed, as lively as him. So I didn't know until afterwards when I woke up that they said the boy in the room next to you died, while you were.
Did you see him before you went into that room?
No, I mean,
So
when I
you
got
didn't
to the
even know he
hospital,
was there.
I didn't know, no, not at all. When I had got to the next hospital, because they had transferred me from one hospital to another one. So by the time I got to the second one, I was already unconscious. They had already sedated me and put me into the medically induced coma. So I had no physical recollection of getting to Grady Hospital at all, which was also why it was so astonishing because I didn't know I was there, but I knew, the hospital. I knew the layout. I knew the elevator was right, where it was, and I was able to describe things. And they're like, so that was part of it. And then I was seeing the things that they were doing to me, which was difficult because I was losing all of my skin. So they had to do hydrotherapy, which I didn't know what hydrotherapy was prior to that. But I saw what the room looked like. I saw the instruments they were using. I was able to describe those instruments when I woke up. And they're like, there's no way you could know that you were completely unconscious, while we were doing this to you. And I'm like, no. And I'm describing, they had these scissors that had like a comb on the end of it. And I'm saying, you guys did this and you used this little hose and it's all cold water. Like they were just like, and so there was those experiences. And then also in this experience, I went to visit a different hospital where my grandfather was. He was alive at the time. I remember having a full on conversation with him, getting on to him about letting them do surgery because he needed his gallbladder out and he wasn't cooperating. And I'm lecturing him like, Papa, you need to let them, do what they need to do because you're sick. And having a whole full-fledged conversation with him. And then lo and behold, when I wake up from the coma 5 weeks later, my family's telling me that Papa just went to the hospital and he needs gallbladder surgery. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I talked to him. Like, I'm telling them all this stuff and they're looking at me like, how do you know that? And I'm like, because, I know it's this and did it. And I'm just giving them all these details and examples that are like, you were asleep. How did you know that? And I'm just like, I was literally sitting there talking to him. And it was hard for me because I believed all these experience. Like I knew that that was real. But of course, when I wake up, they're like, Khaliah, you've been in a coma for 5 weeks. Like you didn't go anywhere. And I'm just like, yes, I did. Like I was describing what his room looked like. I was talking about how he tried to take his IV out. Like I was giving details. So it was stuff like that. Then in a different part of my experience, I went to visit my friend at the time. Now I had found out that she was pregnant in December. And so this is happening in January that I'm in the coma. She had a gender reveal party while I was asleep. I went to the gender reveal party. I was there. I could describe what the cake looked like. They did this, how at weddings they smush the cake in their face. She did that to her husband. I'm giving her all these details. And like she comes to the hospital after I woke up from the coma and she's like bringing me a gift to show me what the baby is. And I'm like, it's a boy. His name is Jeffrey. What are you talking about? And she's just looking at me and I'm like, I'm confused because why are you telling me this? We just had a party. And she's like, well, just open your gifts. And I'm like, it's a boy. Like, what? And she's like, well, just open it. So I'm like, fine. So I open the gift, sure enough, blue onesie. She's like, are you surprised? I'm like, no, I was at the party. And she's like, Khaliah, you were not there. And I start saying, you had a baseball cake. You pushed cake in Mr. Space because you didn't get to do it at the wedding. You were wearing this color shirt. And she's looking at me like, because I'm not wrong, but she also knows that I physically was not there. So it was like, how was I there,
How long were you in a coma for?
37 days.
So were you just cruising around the hospital and all these places
Everywhere.
constantly for 37 days?
It was back and forth, but yes, it was visiting my body at the hospital, seeing the stuff that was going on, visiting the people that were in my life. I also went back to the past. I went to the future. I was
Wow.
able to go to a lot of different places.
What did you see in the future?
So it was my future that I was seeing, and also pieces of things. And granted, at the time, I did not know what any of this stuff meant. But one of the things I saw was a bus fire, very specific, but it was the way that it was. And I knew that I needed to remember it. A few years later, I ended up encountering a bus fire. That was exactly the way that I had seen it. The other thing I saw, that again, this was about my life. I saw a friend's mom. It was very strange that I was even dreaming about her or whatever. She was in my coma dream because I never met her in real life, never saw a picture of her, nothing. But I saw her in my dream. She had a very specific haircut. So that was pretty much all it was in the dream. But fast forward to 4 years after the coma experience, I'm at that friend's bridal shower, and her mom is standing outside in the exact same way, in the position that I saw her standing in. And she had just cut her hair 2 weeks ago. And that's what let me know that I was seeing something that hadn't happened yet, because she told me that she never cut her hair. She's had long hair her whole life and she had just cut it because of the wedding. So in that moment, I instantly knew, okay, I saw that because spirit needed me to understand that we can see the future. Like, it's possible. Everybody can do this. It's not, you don't have to be in a coma for it to happen. Um, Other things that I saw was more just, it's it's hard to talk about only because it's like I don't want to speak it into existence kind of thing. But I
Mm.
saw the fall of everything basically, and that it's the whole consciousness is shifting. Like, we're moving into that new earth energy. And it
And
was
you
very subtle. I didn't get to stay there for very long because this, oh, didn't mention, there was a spirit guide that was with me the whole time, and I was able to communicate with it and talk to it. And it was telling me, we can't stay in these places for too long. That's why we had to keep moving, in between realms and places and stuff. But I saw that,
you saw the fall of everything.
yeah, the sun
So
around the
what do you mean by that? Like everything we all just
like,
consciously shifted
no,
into another realm, or the
it's
earth blew
just,
up, or
no, not the earth blew up. It's just that everything that we knew and what we know to be like how we structure our world is changing. Like, it's different. And I mean, I'm in the United States. I'm from the United States, so I really feel like it's a lot to do with that. Like, it's things are shifting. Our culture and our society is very religious based, and I saw that all of that was dissipating basically. Um, and there was a lot of crazy stuff that happened. Again, I didn't get to stay there for too long. So that's why I'm not speaking, super a lot about that. But I saw a lot of destruction. I saw a lot of calamity.
Mhm.
But ultimately, the end of what I saw was that it was peaceful. Like, it was a new earth. It was
Like a reboot.
yeah, kind of like a hard reset, like how you do when you turn a computer off and you turn it back on. Like, it just, everything moved easier. And it wasn't necessarily I saw specific events. It was just, I saw the energy. And when I saw the energy of the past, it was very dense. It was very hard. It was very cold. But when I saw the future, it was very clean and crisp, and like even the sensations that I was feeling were very warm yet cool at the same time. And that was an indicator that it's peaceful where we're moving, but there's a lot of shit that's gonna fall before we get there, basically.
If you compared the reality that we're in right now compared to what you experienced out of your body,
Hmm.
is which one is more real?
Honestly, the out of body experience felt more real only because I could go anywhere. Like, I was so aware of consciousness that anything that I thought I could bring to my reality. Like, it was easy to do things. And that's why I didn't want to go. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to come back. I didn't want any of that. And so I was actually very upset when I came back into this reality and I wasn't able to move as freely and do all the things that I was able to do in this energetic space. And I was pissed. I was literally pissed. Like, why didn't they take me? But I knew that the spirit guide told me I could not stay there. I was not dying. This was not death. I just needed to see all of these things. I needed to bring this message back. I needed to share. I needed to do all these things. And I was very upset. And I was me in my spirit body. I was absolutely me. But I was very much like, care and energy. I want to talk to the manager. I was like, I'm done. By this point, I had seen so many different things. I was like, I want to talk to God. Like, I'm done with this. Like, just take me to God. And I will never forget, it was like, we went from being in this boat in Antarctica, whatever, and it was just like random shit. And then I'm like, I want to meet God. I want to see God. I'm tired of doing this. And then, phew, I'm in this like white room and there's these giant big stairs. I didn't have to walk though. It was like I could just think my way up there. And so I just sort of floated, and then there wasn't a door or anything. It was just this opening. And so when I walked through, it's very much like a big, 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 big room. And all I saw was this extravagant mirror. And I was just like overwhelmed by it. The thing that's with me, the spirit guide is telling me I cannot get too close to this, because if I get too close to it, I won't be able to come back, and I have to come back. And in this moment, I'm me. So I'm like, what you mean I can't get close to it? Like, you brought me up here and I can't go. Like, but I'm just so overwhelmed. Like, I felt this energy of love, peace, warmth, just an indescribable feeling of acceptance, just everything, like words I couldn't even describe. And so when I'm getting close to it, and mind you, I didn't have to go very far to get close to it because it's so big. Like, it's taking up the size of the room, even though there's no walls in this room, there's no container, there's just space. But in it, I could see anything. I could see everything, anything I brought to my consciousness. I could see it. I could see why. I could see how. I could feel it. I could know it. And it was just like, oh my God. So then there was like this sort of what people consider a life review almost. And I saw parts of my past that I subconsciously suppressed. I saw parts of my future that were coming. It was more about me though. And that's when I understood, like, we are God. Like, it's us. God is us. Like, God is not a person or a man or an entity. Like, it's a source of all energy and all things. And of this, everything is in it. And in this is everything that's of it. It was very like cyclical, and I couldn't really like I wasn't even talking, when this was going on. It was more of me just emoting and I was crying. I was just happy, like, and it was a weird knock. I'm just overwhelmed, because this is so real. And but I also was pissed. Like, I was just like, this is not the God that I was expecting, like, being a Christian, I was expecting, some big old man and a beard and Jesus, I expected to see Jesus, never saw Jesus. And it was like source, spirit, God was telling me that we're God. And it was very hard for me to understand because that sounded so sacrilegious. And I'm just like, what? And so I knew that if I got too close to it, I would go through it and I wouldn't be able to return. And so as soon as I tried to do that, it just yanked me back. And it was like, zoop. So it's aware of our consciousness. We don't have to talk to it. We don't have to summon it. Like, it's there. And while I was standing there looking at things through this mirror, and it almost looked like a prism, like, because I could see through it, but also see the reflection of it at the same time. And I could see things that happened to me, and I'm asking, where were you in all of this? Where was God in all of this? And I could see where they were. Like, it was in the energy of things, and it was something so simple. But I remember there was a traumatic experience I had to watch, and God or the energy or the source or whatever was distracting me. It was what was focusing my attention so that I wasn't receiving pain. And it's like, that's so weird, but it's easy, I think it was easy for me to be like, oh, well, God's not there, or God is there, he lets all these bad things happen. And that was my mindset, as a Christian. But seeing it from this perspective of there's this duality of light and darkness, and both of them exist at the same time, but it's in everything. It's not just, in good people or bad people, it's in everything. And that was hard for me to conceptualize. I didn't know what to think of that. And so I was very much in shock when I woke up and realized that, all of that had happened.
Can you tell us a little more about your spirit guide, like what he looked like, what his
Yeah.
name was? Was he what was he? Was he a human or an angel
It
or
was not a human. It was genderless. It was literally it almost looked like the outline of a human, but not. It was just sort of this blob of light and like sparkly iridescent confetti, it looked like. Um, it could communicate with me through my thoughts. I didn't have to talk to it like I could, but it could also just talk to me in my head. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't genderless. It was genderless. It wasn't a man or a woman. It wasn't, I heard its voice, but it wasn't a human voice. And it's really hard to describe. It was just an energy of just knowing, like, and it was with me everywhere, and it was able to tell me, like, you're okay, you're safe, you're fine. It was guiding me through all the different things. Like I said, when I went back to my past, I was told that I could not touch anything. They were very specific about that. And I say he sometimes only because it's just feels better that way, but it was not a man. But they told me I could not touch anything when I went back to the past. And that was very difficult because I wanted to change things, but they were like, you can't touch anything. Don't touch anything. And I was literally strapped to a chair while I was watching this stuff from the past. I didn't understand this at the time, but I was able to see the energy of my past life. I didn't see who I was in the past life, but I was able to see like the things that I brought with me to this life. So that blew my mind when
Mm.
learning about reincarnation and past lives and all that stuff, because that's true. Like we bring that energy with us. And so there are certain things that happen to us in this life that are because we're paying off karmic debt from our last life. So I saw that and I saw these are the reasons why some of these things had to happen to you. And you had these abilities to cope with this. But I also had to see why things had to happen to my human body. And that was very difficult.
Do you think that this burn that you had is a way of paying off karmic debt?
I think that that experience was something that my soul contracts agreed to, because it was something I was meant to go through, because the experience that I had while being in the coma is what I needed to share with the world. And I don't like what happened to me at all. And it was very much an accident in terms of there was a lot of legalities. And, we talking 3D stuff right now, but
Mhm.
energetically, I think that I had to go through that because this world needed to know what I saw and what I experienced, because everybody can do that. And I truly believe that how I describe it is like I got an access card in the spirit realm that gives me access to be able to tap into this anytime. And ever since this experience, my spiritual gifts have blown up.
What are
Like
they?
I'm clairvoyant, I'm claircognizant, I'm clairsentient, I'm a medium, I'm psychic, telepathy. I can heal things with my hands, I can heal my own body. That's something else that's very strange, which baffles doctors, is that my body heals itself. And even while I was in the hospital, they were astonished that all of my skin grew back before I even woke up. And that's unheard of, to lose that much skin and be that open and susceptible and it all grow back that fast. I didn't need any skin grafts, which people that have my condition typically do. But there was something about me that my everything was healing at a very, very, very rapid rate. And I have continued to have that ability 10 years later. And also when I touch things, they heal.
Why do you think humanity has gotten so messed up that we need this message? What happened to us?
I think us as a society got really conditioned to look outside of ourselves for things instead of looking within. Our society has externalized God. It's this, we got to pray to this person, to this thing, and they have to let us get what we deserve. But this experience taught me that everything is within us. We are everything that we need. We have everything that we will ever need in this life. We just have to tap into it. And I think that the reason why this experience can change people is because, like I said, religion is a huge part of this. And I was a firm religious Christian person when all this happened, and it drastically changed my perspective on life. And I think when people wake up from religion, they'll understand that religion is oppression. It doesn't teach you to love yourself, it actually teaches you to hate yourself and think that you're a sinner and all that. But we don't have freedom in life from that. And we're energetically not free living in that mindset. So I think Spirit Source used me because I'm a bridge between that. I'm a person who used to believe that. And once I was able to use my experiences, I could see the value of looking to ourselves and not outside of ourselves, and not shaming ourselves and not thinking that we're broken. I had to do all of that healing work. And because of that, I live a much better life than I ever lived being, under religious oppression. And that was hard for me to admit because that's a lot of people's identity. Our whole world is run, not world, but our whole country is ran by religious constructs. And yet it's so limiting and very harmful to the human psyche. And without awakening, you don't know your true power. If you think your power is giving God the ability, or who you think is God, to wake you up, you don't know you can wake yourself up. You're forever going to be asleep because you're waiting on something outside of you that's in you. So I think it had to be me in some sense because I'm the perfect example of I believed the Christian God theory, and then now I see that that's not how it was meant to be. And why do we need this? Because we are meant to be able to heal ourselves. We are meant to be able to use our clear senses and be psychic. All those things are real. Jesus did all of those things, and yet they crucified him because he thought he was God, and he was here to show us what we could do. And I think that's what it is. It was me coming back to let people know these are the abilities we can all tap into. You don't have to almost die to do this. We all are born with this ability. We just have to tap into it, and you have to believe it. You have to believe it.
Besides what you already told us, is there some other specific message that you're here to share?
I mean, other than we're meant to heal ourselves, and we have the power to heal ourselves. We don't have to subscribe to anything external. And I think I'm here to tell people that mind, body, spirit connection is very, very real. And it is the key to us healing and having peace and enlightenment in this life. We have to treat the whole person, not just the body. You know, everyone's, oh, we got to do this exercise and all that. But it's our spirit that really needs the most work. And a lot of things have been demonized, I think. So it is really important for people to think for themselves and not what religion says, not what our parents taught us, but truly find out what you're here to do. Everyone has a unique individual purpose, soul contract, mission. Everyone's here individually. And we are meant to find ourselves. That's what this whole human experience is about. It's not being what our parents want or what our job tells us. We are here to find ourselves, to come back home to ourselves. That's what I really feel like I'm supposed to tell people, that we can heal ourselves.
Do you remember any of your past lives that you can share with us?
I don't remember any of the specifics about each life, but I just remember the energy that I brought with me. So I know that I was very much some kind of oracle spiritual person in a past life. So that's why I was born with a lot of spiritual gifts. I believe that I was in a fire in a past life. And I think that does kind of link to some of the things that happened to me in this life, but I didn't get a clear image. But what I knew was that I have lived a lot of past lives. Like some people live, their souls, aren't that old. Mine is ancient. It was very clear that mine was very old. And that's why I think I didn't see individual ones. I just saw I've been everything basically. Like, so it was more so they wanted me to know the energy that I was bringing into this life and that I needed to deal with that. And so I knew that I had a lot of generational, ancestral type energy that I was working through. And that was in part, why some of these things had to happen. And I I just know that I was heavily protected. And that's what they kept telling me, like, you're protected, you're good, you're protected. Like they just wanted me to see. They didn't want me to do anything. They just wanted me to see. And that's why I feel like my purpose is just to tell people that we can have access to all of this. Whether you want to do past life regression studies or astrology or future psychic medium, all these things are real. And that's what I feel like they wanted me to share, is that all of this stuff is real. People having outer body experiences is real. People having dreams where they have premonitions and things come true, that's real. I have that ability now too. That was one of the things that I feel like I didn't have that before, but I woke up and I have death premonitions. So I know when people are about to die. And that was difficult. That was difficult to unpack. But the purpose was they need to know all of these things exist. The past, the present, the future is all existing at the same time. It's only separated by like a thin piece of air, basically, but it is all connected. All these timelines, all these things are happening at the same time time doesn't exist in the spirit realm. And that's why 37 Earth days in a spirit realm was a lot of time. And I was absorbing a lot of information, a lot of things, but it was more the access that I continued to have. So after I woke up from the coma, there was this unexplainable, just again, that same energy that I felt standing in front of God, mirror, source, spirit. I had that for about a whole year. And it was unreal because I woke up in a different body in terms of I had lost all my hair, my skin was different, I was blind, I essentially woke up in a different body. But I had this unexplainable peace, and I know that it was because I was in the presence of source. And that energy transmuted into my physical body. And so another experience I had was, again, understanding how mind, body, spirit connections work. After I had woken up from the coma, they changed my trach, so I was able to talk and all of that stuff, but I was having seizures. They could not figure out why. I didn't know at the time why. I'll share my thoughts on what I think it is afterwards, but I vividly remember my mom was feeding me applesauce. I started having a seizure. All the monitors go off. I clearly go unconscious. Boop, pop out of my body. I'm standing next to the bed. My spirit body is watching the nurses come in and shoot the Ativan in my IV. My mom's getting out of the way. The neurologist happened to be in the room with me that day. So she's observing me. And I see that she takes this pin and she uses it to smash my toe. And my spirit body is yelling at her because I didn't have any skin or toenails on my toe and it's all bloody and stuff. So I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? But she can't hear me. She's blissfully unaware that my spirit is next to her. So I'm like, okay, they can't hear me again. So, all right, they do all this stuff to my body. I'm watching my body literally laying there and they're doing stuff. And I'm talking like, you need to do it. And then boom, consciousness. I'm back in my body and I'm still yelling, why did you smash my toe like that? And the doctor looks at me and she says, what are you talking about? Because again, I was unconscious. I didn't know that she was doing that. And I said, you literally took that pin, and I pointed to it. I said, you took that pin and you smashed my toe. And she said, how could you know that? And I said, I was standing next to you yelling at you to not do that. And she was like, and everyone is just standing there because they all know that what I'm saying is real, but they all also saw my body completely unconscious. And I told her to get out. I was like, get out. I want to do it. I was like, I don't like you. You're mean. So it was stuff like that I knew that was my spirit. The reason why I was having these seizures, I believe, is because my spirit was trying to integrate back into my body. And it was having some trouble because my body was so sick and depleted. So that's why I was able to jump in and out so quickly and so easily. And when I jumped back in, that was the last time that I separated like that. I've attempted to do that afterwards, but that was that moment. Standing in front of a doctor, a medical doctor who knew the monitors are telling her I'm having a seizure, the medicine, everything. But I literally told that lady while my body was unconscious exactly what she did to me. And she was in shock, pure shock.
After you finish this life, are you coming back here again or going somewhere else?
I don't want to. I do know that we have a choice. We can choose to incarnate or not. Now, once you choose to incarnate, there's no going back. But I don't feel like I'm coming back after this. I'm advocating for this being my last Earth life because it's ghetto here. There's so many other lives. There's so many other places to have an experience for my soul. I've done 8 bajillion lives as an Earthling. I'm good. So I don't know for sure, but I just know that we do have a choice.
Do you fear death at all?
Not anymore. I used to be really afraid of death, really afraid of death. More so afraid of like other people dying in my life. But I struggled with suicidal ideations for a long time. So I was scared of dying, but also fascinated with dying at the same time. But after this, no, I'm not scared because I also understand that we don't really die. Like our bodies die, but your soul, your spirit just comes out of your body and does the same thing that what I was doing while I was in a coma. And we just transition to a different part of the universe. And yes, people can come and visit you and move stuff around your house. Yeah, all that stuff is real. So no, I don't fear death anymore because I know it's just a transition. It's not a final thing. Your soul is going to evolve into something else. But once I'm done with this life and I learn all the lessons that I'm supposed to learn, I get to go on to something better.
Did you see any other beings out there, either human or non-human?
The only thing I saw was something, and it was not human. It looked almost like a transformer, but it was just distant. It didn't do anything. Again, it was more so me just to see it and know that it was there, but I didn't interact with it. I didn't try to talk to it. I just saw and I felt like it was an angel. And that's how I knew angels aren't what people think they look like. They're not humanoids with giant wings. They look scary. But they're not. And that's why I knew it was something that wasn't bad, even though it looked like I said, kind of like a big transformer thing. It was like this circle and it had like lines and it just looked weird. And I was like, what is that? And they, spirit guy told me it's an angel. And I'm like, that don't look like an angel. And that was kind of it. They were moving me through things pretty quickly. I didn't get to sit with everything for too long because I think my purpose was to see that there was so many different things, like and I kept coming back to check on my body. They told me I could go check on my body whenever I wanted to, and I was because I was afraid I was gonna get stuck. So that was the only entity or being that wasn't human. Now I saw other humans, and like I said, some of them were people that were living, so they were the people that were in the hospital. I saw people that looked like they were family, but I didn't recognize them. So my assumption, I didn't know at the time, but my assumption is that they were ancestors. But I didn't know who they were. I just knew, they were there and they were just looking at me. It was a lot of observation. So, but I know that those beings exist because, again, the knowledge that I had was there's all of this stuff. And I knew that I would recognize it when I saw it with my human eyes. So that's why I didn't understand everything when I was in the coma. It took 10 years to understand what I had truly seen. So now I understand that that guide that I was seeing was a spirit guide, but more likely my higher self, because everything is connected. Your guides, the angels, source, everything is connected. It's all like a root. It's like the bottom of the root is source, and then we all come, out of it. But all of it is the same thing. So that guide was really just me in a higher vibration, in a higher level, in a spirit guide form, me in the future as a spirit guide. So it's guiding me right now. And that was again mind. How do you explain that? Because I just knew that I recognized this thing. I was never scared of it. I was never like, oh my God, what are you? It was like an immediate knowing and an immediate familiarity.
Hmm.
So I didn't understand everything, like I said at first, but over the past 10 years, I've understood, yes, I saw all of those things and all of that stuff was real.
Since you know about the fall of everything, are you preparing for it in any way?
Nope. And I'll tell you why. Because those of us that are awakened and at a certain frequency, we're going to be fine. We have nothing to worry about. It's going to be crazy, like seeing all the things that are happening to the world, but the main thing is people that are not at that 5D consciousness. And I don't even this is my earth me like hesitating, but yeah, those of us that are at a frequency of love and openness and acceptance, we don't really have a lot to worry about. It's people that are low vibrational and hate and war and have a mindset of very ego based stuff. Those are the people that are you're gonna see are gonna be preparing. But there's really nothing they can do to prepare because the shift has already started. The shift started before. 5D conscious shift started already. It's just that in order for it to fully come in, like certain things have to go out. So this negative energy, this system that's in America, the everything, the religion, the food, the everything is gonna change. Everything's gonna change. But those of us who are already adapted to higher consciousness, we don't have anything to worry about. I can say that confidently.
I think most of my audience would agree with you that we have these abilities, but we don't know how to turn them on.
Hmm.
Can you give us any advice for that?
Yes. So it's gonna start with healing. So all of us come in life and we have, we experience traumas and things. So it starts with really getting into the subconscious mind, into the things that we avoid. It also comes with, it's more than just meditation, because you can access this stuff without needing to do 9 million hours of meditation, but it does require a certain stillness of your body. Your body needs to be still in order for your mind and spirit to kind of take over. That's how, when you get into this meditative state or a dissociative state, that's where you can understand and have a different sensory experience. So it's healing wounds that make it difficult for your brain to understand things. So if you have a cognitive belief that this stuff isn't real, you have to heal that before you can even think about accessing it, right? So let's say, okay, you heal that, cool, great. Then you have to get into a space of knowing who you are, getting into a space of what am I made of. I suggest people look at their natal charts in astrology, because we were born with all of this energy. You need to know how to use it. So start with that. Then get your body into a space of stillness. So we got to slow down. And that's the only reason why I feel like I was able to develop my gifts a lot afterwards, is because I was stuck at home. I was very isolated. I wasn't working, I was at home in stillness. So I got to see that that's how you open this channel, is getting still. And it's not just sitting there. It's truly calming your body. It is getting grounded. It is getting into a space of receiving. So it's that. And it's also, like I said, believing that you can. And it's also, it's a lot easier than people think. I think people have a concept that when you astral project or something, that it's some, Hollywood movie like instance. But you see it in your mind, it's a visual thing, it's a knowing, it's you're using all of your senses to get there, but you have to kind of decalcify those things. You got to detox those things. So it's hard to receive stuff in your head when it's clogged with religion, toxins, stuff like that. So get as natural as possible. And I don't mean like, oh, we got to just eat trees forever, but detox from metals, from all the toxins and things. And then once you are in a state of stillness, people can do it. And you really have to just ask the universe to show you. That if people forget that, like, we're having an active, experience. So if you want to know who your guides are, ask them. Ask them, who are my guides? Reveal yourself to me. Be sure you're ready to see, but ask them. It's as simple as that. Intention is everything. Intention is everything. So if you are intending to open yourself up to seeing angels, then do that. Set that intention with your body, with your mind, and with your spirit. Threefold, and you can do it.
Are you still having out of body experiences? And if so, how do you get out?
So the only other time that I've had an outer body experience like that was when I was having a surgery. So I needed eye surgery back in 2021, and I had an outer body experience like that. Oh, excuse me. It wasn't as long, because obviously this surgery was really short, so it wasn't. I didn't go to different rooms and stuff. I was literally just watching what they were doing to me in the room. And you asked me, how do you get back in? Breathing. It sounds really simple, but breath is life. And by being aware and connected, taking deep breaths, that's how I got back connected. Because almost what happens when I dissociate is that I hold my breath. So I'm not getting any breath, right? So on a less dramatic scale, if we have an outer body experience, we astral travel, I only recommend doing that, sleeping. I don't like to think about people trying to do that while they're awake, because there is, some people get lost, and that weird stuff can happen. So if people want to astral travel, do it in your sleep. That's the safest way to do it. If you're out in the world today, like, all of that, and you have an outer body experience, it's usually really quick, and it's not deep enough for you to not be able to get back in automatically. So it's really just breathing that would get you back. Coming back into your body, whether that's somebody touching you or whatever, you can come back. But it's the awareness of your body that is going to bring you back.
Is astral projection the same thing as an out-of-body experience?
It's similar. Um, it's similar, but it's not exactly the same. Astral projecting is more like you can go to other realms. Out of body is usually you just standing around your body and seeing your body, and it's usually just you seeing you. Whereas astral projecting, you can see anything when you astral project. But like I said, they're similar. They're kind of fraternal twins, but astral projecting is more specific. You can go anywhere, like remote view type things.
So what's in store for you for the future? Like, what are your plans, or how are you changing?
I'm planning on writing a book. I'm planning on doing speaking engagements. I'm planning on opening a wellness center. I really want to provide a safe space for people to heal in a natural way, free of judgment, free of politics. I just want to provide a space for people to heal, and using all the tools that I have learned on my spiritual journey the last 10 years, I want to provide that space. So that's really what I'm working towards, is having a holistic wellness center.
Well, after watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions.
Mhm.
Are you open to that? And if so, how do they find you?
They can find me on TikTok. I'm the Khaliah Sage, the Khaliah Sage. Um, I have an email that's linked in my TikTok. You can email me if you want to share a story. Um, yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at.
Before we finish up, can you leave us with one last positive message?
That's so deep. I think my final positive message is we can truly heal ourselves. We have all the power we need to heal ourselves. We are everything that we need, and we don't have to look outside of ourselves at all. We are everything that we need.
Khaliah, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
You are so welcome. It was my pleasure. I'm so excited.
Well, the pleasure was all mine.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.